Shite.
I got him. For once, Kev, it's not you. I was hoping one of you would bite, and you did. Thanks for finishing my sentence for me, Vito.
You're welcome.
Hello, good evening. I'm not ready. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the latest Forza Italian football podcast. Forgive me for my giggles. I am Conor Clancy. The reason I'm giggling is because of Vito Doria. Vito, wash your mouth out and keep your language clean, please.
Well, I thought we were still off air, but then you switched the record button on. And by the way, I actually do have some Listerine in my hotel room, so I can do that after the pod.
Since we last recorded, we've actually seen each other in person twice. Obviously, Wednesday for our little get together in Milan, and then you came down to Parma to visit me, and we stayed out very, very late, drinking a lot and playing some football, which was nice.
Yeah, some fun times. Yeah, definitely got to find a way to try and come back to Italy on a more permanent basis. So hopefully I can sort that out in the near future.
Yeah, we'll start working on that. Don't you worry. Also joining me is the person I was trying to catch off guard, but he didn't work. He's wisened up to my tricks. His old age is serving him well in that regard. Kev, hello.
Hi, Connor. I don't swear.
Don't you?
Not enough.
Bear in mind, I have met you too off the pod, and I know for a fact that that's not true. It's been a good weekend of football, hasn't it, Kev?
It has, yes. Yeah, for me it has, yeah.
You've had a very good weekend, actually. I forgot that. But let's focus on the Italian stuff. You got to write about Liverpool in an Italian context during the week, so I'm sure you're only dying to squeeze them in here, but you're not getting the chance. Or at least not to talk about the recent results, but you can talk about them in the 90s if you want. But there was some actual Italian football for us to just dive straight in with, and one of them was the Derby d'Italia. Surprise, surprise. Juve are the best team in Italy. Kev, are you still smug about Inter, given that they've come up with a big challenge for the first time this season, lost, and are no longer top of the table?
Yeah, no, I am, because I think the league isn't going to be lost on these two games. I think it did wake Inter up a little bit to what, how far off maybe being the all-round team and, having the experience that Juve have built over the last sort of nearly a decade. But yeah, I think they can take solace in probably some things that didn't maybe go for them tonight. I thought Sensi's loss was quite significant when he left, and it was just one goal. It's not as if Juve have gone to the San Siro, walked away with, say, a 3-0 victory. They're still just a point ahead now, and I think if Juve really, really push for the Champions League, I think that's where Inter can maybe sneak the league this year if they drop points in and around Champions League games this season.
Still going for it?
Still going for it.
Right, you're a brave man. Vito, is Kev crazy?
Oh, look, it's a big call, and just on social media, there's that use of the so-called content effect. I think such a scenario is possible. That being said, Juve have been so dominant throughout this decade. It's a bold and brave prediction to suggest that Inter will finally take the title off them once and for all. Juventus showed that, although they're still trying to adapt to Sarri's philosophy, they still have that individual quality that can just turn games around and get the result in their favour.
Yeah, this is it, isn't it? And Kev, your big thing for the last 6 weeks was, Inter haven't lost. Juve haven't lost.
No, I think more thing the last few weeks is that they kept picking up wins, because there was a period even under Spalletti where they would, not lose. They'd grind out a draw. They keep that unbeaten run, whereas Conte was getting them to do exactly what they needed to pick up that 3 points after 3 points after 3 points.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We saw in the Premier League actually last season that you can afford to lose games as long as you don't draw too many. What was it? Wasn't it Manchester City lost a fair few games in England last year, but they just never really drew. So they managed to get enough points that way. So maybe Inter can do that. Juve might be able to draw a few times this season, and Inter will be able to sneak in. But the match winner today, Gonzalo Higuain. Kev, I'm going to stick with you on this. He is a big game player. He has a reputation for always bottling it in these big games. And I think, all right, he never delivers in finals. But when it comes to big league games, you pointed out on Twitter, you've got to go back 5 or 6 years to think of a time when he actually did let his club side down in a big league game.
Yeah, it was slightly tongue-in-cheek referencing the penalty miss against Lazio. I think Higuain certainly does make the difference in enough games across the course of the season to be that, in brackets, a big game player. I think the problem that he faces, that he's made errors or missed chances, if you like, in those big individual games, be it World Cup final, Copa America, that's what people remember. Whereas over the course of the season, there are maybe, half a dozen big games where he is the match winner, which does make him that big game player. It's just unfortunate for him.
It's a bit unfair and lazy on everyone's part that he has this reputation.
I don't think it's lazy. I think it's the magnitude of those games that just makes it puts it to the forefront of your consciousness, that you remember them for that moment, and it's just unfortunate, But then also you can say it's unfortunate. He's missed those chances on those big occasions, so he's almost brung it on himself in a certain way.
It is one of those things though. If you keep playing for top clubs in Argentina, you're going to play in more big games, so you will have more chances to miss these big chances, I suppose. It's one of those things that it's always bothered me, along with the perception that he doesn't work. Gonzalo Higuain works harder than most number 9s do, but I don't know, because he has a tendency to put on a little bit of weight when he's not playing football and he's off for the summer. People decide that he's lazy and terrible, which he very, very much isn't. But another Argentine who scored, actually, they were all Argentines who scored, Kev, as you pointed out in your player ratings article, so well done for that. But on the other side of it, Lautaro Martinez, Vito, he's continuing to impress with every appearance this season.
Well, he has thrived under Antonio Conte, and although Conte is a guy who prefers hard-working players, this setup somehow allows Lautaro to be able to play his natural game. He is that kind of player to take players on. He's mobile. He knows how to get into the right positions. And I think playing in a partnership, regardless if it's with Lukaku like he did in tonight's game, or in other games might be with Alexis Sanchez, I think just being in the duo really suits him much better. And under Conte, because he's also getting that regular playing time, I think he'll just continue to grow as a footballer.
Yeah, well, we saw at times last season Spalletti tried to use him in a front two or to play behind Icardi, and it never really quite worked. Do you think it's because of the nature of his relationship now, Kev, with Lukaku that it's different? Whereas when he was playing with Icardi was very much the main player. Whereas now Lukaku and Lautaro both bring very different things to Inter, but they're both equally as important as one another.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Icardi needed the team to be focused around him. I think there was an element of selfishness that I think you get with every striker. But I mentioned last week that the three of them, Lukaku, Martinez and Alexis, just look as though they could all interchange and play very well together, however Conte decides to use them.
I was quite surprised to see Lautaro come off this evening. Politano actually come on, who is another good option for them, but I just thought Lautaro was causing problems, and I'm pretty sure that was still was it 1 each when he came off? But anyway, going to be a big season for him. He's going to keep delivering, and it's good. But anyway, back to Juve, because they did win. I was quite impressed by Paulo Dybala. He and Cristiano Ronaldo showed, Vito, that they can actually combine together and it can work.
Definitely. I think that under Max Allegri, the two of them probably did not fit in very well. And it was also, I suppose, dependent on how Allegri set up the team or picked his formations. Although, like I said, that Sarri ball's not really in full effect as yet, I do believe that a coach like Sarri is capable of making two attacking players like them work in a team and make them function properly. And I do see that Dybala is playing a bit better under Sarri. So we'll see as the season progresses if Ronaldo and Dybala can create some understanding and perhaps to the point that they become telepathic.
Yeah, Kev, Dybala has a big role to play under Sarri. Agreed?
Yeah, absolutely. They seem to. There's been a few games where that relationship with Ronaldo is really sort of looking like it's going to bear fruit as the season progresses.
I'm going to stick with you. Look at the Juventus team. Right, get it up in front of you because I've got it up in front of me. If we'd sat in, I don't know, the last week of the transfer window and said that when Juve's biggest game of the season so far come along, they would start with Juan Cuadrado at right back, Bonucci and De Ligt at centre back, Blaise Matuidi and Sami Khedira in midfield, and Federico Bernardeschi playing behind Paulo Dybala up top. You wouldn't have believed it. And it shows the depth that Juve have, that they've beaten Inter, who were top before this game, with what's not their strongest starting 11.
No, I couldn't work out, because I obviously watched the game this evening. I don't remember seeing Bernardeschi in the first half, and I put that in my report. I thought Juan Cuadrado, yeah, I'll get that one time, wasn't pressured enough by Asamoah, who's been Asamoah for Inter, who's been sorry,
the Colombian
Cuadrado.
There you go.
I've got it. No, I don't think he was pressured enough by Asamoah, who's been wonderful for Inter at the times this season. And actually, Blaise Matuidi, his passing was off a little this evening, and Khedira was almost as non-existent as Bernardeschi, which I think was reflected in the fact that he and Matuidi were substituted by Sarri. But yeah, certainly at the start of the season, if you thought that team was going to go to San Siro the way, well, let's say that not necessarily the way that they're playing, but with the results that Inter have picked up, you would have feared for them. But somehow they just got over the line tonight. And when I think about it from a man to by man performance perspective, I can't kind of work out how they did.
No, nor can I. But this is Juve, isn't it? And no matter what facelift they've had in the summer, they can still do this. It's a little bit depressing. Actually, I was watching this game in my apartment. I just got back from Bologna in time, and I knew that Cristiano Ronaldo was going to score before he did. Well, not really. I was watching on a stream, and I was a little bit delayed. And obviously, there's a Juve fan in my building that I didn't know about before tonight. And all I heard was the "See" shout, and then I thought, oh no. And then Cristiano got his goal, and he did it again. But then obviously it was disallowed, and I was very, very happy because that shout is one of the worst things in football at the moment.
Cristiano Ronaldo actually impressed me this evening.
Yeah?
Because when I've watched him in Serie A for the last, nearly 18 months, I've always felt he's not quite, at his final sort of level, because I think he is so much better than, let's say, 2/3 of the defenders in the league. Yet tonight, from the very first whistle, it was almost as though he looked at Inter and thought, I'm going to knock you off of whatever, sort of perch they're sat on at the moment, looking down, thinking they're unbeatable. It was interesting to see just how he was going about his business from the very first whistle.
It was quite a different Cristiano we saw tonight, Vito, wasn't it?
It was, and it's good to see him get involved in the overall play because he does have the technical ability. Probably some of the other greats of the game are probably more polished than what he is, but it was important for him to combine with teammates. And he did have a good hand in Higuain's goal as well. I think he played a pass to, I think it was Bentancur, if I'm not mistaken, before Higuain put the ball in the back of the net. So it's good that he's able to get involved in those exchange of passes, especially in tight areas, because it just adds another dimension to his overall game, and it's better for the team that he's not the guy that's going to be finishing off the final moves. He can be more involved in the construction of play.
Guys, have either of you been on Twitter in the last hour or 90 minutes?
I have.
Have you seen Juventus's tweet?
Is that the video one?
We did it again.
It started.
Oh, yes.
It started. The video started rolling, and I ignored it.
This is funny. This is very, very funny. I'm actually seeing a new side of Juventus this season that I quite like, because obviously Dov Schiavone pointed out when he was at Juve, was it for the Champions League game? I can't remember. But obviously Inter's big thing this season is not for everyone. And Juve put up the ad going around their stadium saying Juventus membership is for everyone. They denied, actually, when Dov asked them that was anything to do with Inter, but come on, we know it was. And then they did actually hint to Dov that look out on Sunday night, we've got something coming. Obviously, just knowing they were going to win, and then they did this. I think this is very funny. More of this, please, Juventus people, because I know you do actually listen to the podcast, so keep doing that. We very much enjoy that. What else do we want to talk about from this game? I had some more points put down. Matthijs de Ligt. He gave away a penalty, and I don't really know why he did it, but he was shaky again, Kev.
Yeah, he was. I think we just have to give him credit for his age.
Yeah.
For coming to a new country, even. You know, he's his first time, I imagine, living outside his country, not knowing where he was living before he sort of came to prominence with Ajax, and it is the top level that he's being asked to play at the moment, and it was silly, unnecessary to sort of jump in with his arm. I think he almost matched how Martinez was kind of jumping into the challenge, both at chest height, and I think he was a little unfortunate. But, you know, he is young. He will learn, hopefully. He is a talent. Yeah,
good. I wanted one of you to say something bad about him so then I could say something good, but Kev, you took the sensible approach, which was good of you. So that's Serie A's top two. Who's sitting third in Serie A? Oh, there they are again. It's Atalanta. They're back in Bergamo. They're back winning. They beat Lecce 3-1 and back to business, Vito.
Yes, back to business. And, of course, it was the usual suspects, at least for the first two goals. Duvan Zapata scored after Fabio Luciani error, but it was a well-taken strike and had a bit of force into it as well. And then he was involved in the second goal, which was scored by Papa Gomez.
Well, you say the first two goals. Robin Gosens is becoming one of the usual suspects. That's his third goal of the season. Obviously, he scored at SPAL, he scored at Sassuolo, both games I was at, and now he scored today. Gasparini has unleashed him.
Yeah, there's something about Gasparini that since he's been at Atalanta, he's been able to create these goal-scoring wing-backs. In his first season, it was Andrea Conti and Leonardo Spinazzola chipped in with a few goals, but probably not as much as Conti. Then, since those two departed, it's been Gosens and Timothy Castagne that have contributed with the goals. So I think it's vital that you don't just rely on your forwards for goals. If you have other avenues, use them. And under Gasparini, Atalanta certainly have had that.
Yeah, for sure. Don't forget Big Hans Hateboer as well. He loves a goal on the right, especially last season anyway. Yet to see it as much this year. Kev, this was a win they very much needed after the Champions League heartbreak in midweek that came with the last kick of the game. They needed a big result, and Lecce could have proven tricky customers, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, Lecce were looking at a third straight win on the road in Serie A. I think I would still be... The thing with Atalanta is they're always going to score lots of goals, but the defending for the Lecce goal was non-existent, which is obviously a concern, particularly if you're going to try and tighten up at the back for those Champions League games, because it was just naivety and inexperience, wasn't it, that allowed Shakhtar to sort of steal those 3 points on Wednesday?
I think it was almost them trying to exert too much control on the game, because they seemed to be almost running the clock down before launching one last attack so that Shakhtar wouldn't have the time to counter them. But then they made the mistake and Shakhtar just got in. It was deflating. And in the mixed zone after that game, all of the players were so just burst, like completely broken. Martin de Roon was chatting to a friend of Dov's, and we were beside him, Aaron Deckers. He's speaking in Dutch, basically. He only stopped for an interview with him because he knows him for being Dutch. And then the Atalanta press officer was like, okay, we've got to go and do Sky now. And Durham was just like, no, I don't want to. And he just left. And then all of the players, with the exception of Pierluigi Golini, just trotted through and went home. And Josip Ilicic walked through like a ghost as well, which you can understand given he missed a penalty and probably had his worst game of the season. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the Champions League, he says with great relief. But not keeping a clean sheet is going to be a concern, because you saw how much they celebrated against Roma. And it's something that they need to start doing a little bit more often. But I don't know, we've spoken about that before. Something that I don't think we've spoken about enough, to be honest with you, is Duvan Zapata. He's phenomenal. I know, obviously, he's very, very good. And it's no secret that he's been quite good for, a year now, since last October, November, that he started scoring goals. But Vito, more needs to be made of just how good he's been, because he's so reliable every single week.
Based on his Serie A performances, he definitely deserves more recognition. As I mentioned earlier, he did score the first goal and he did create Papu's goal, but he's really blossomed since joining Atalanta. Originally, when he arrived in Italy and played for Napoli and Udinese, I saw him as more or less of a tree trunk or just a striker that would just stay in the box. But he's become a far more complete striker under Gasperini. He looks far more mobile, can cover a lot more ground, and he's happy to drift to the wings when necessary. So as a Serie A striker, I think he's superb and deserves more recognition. Unfortunately, I do think that I think some better results in the Champions League might do his reputation a lot more. So he did score against Shakhtar, and he was a nice header. But I think in the next 4 games in the Champions League, I think he needs to keep adding to that tally, and then Europe and the rest of the world will notice him a lot more. But it's going to be a massive task for Ladea.
If Atalanta are going to get knocked out of the Champions League, I don't want Duvan Zapata to score a single other goal in the group stage, because he'll get snapped up. But looking at the league table, they are third, 16 points from their opening 7 games, 2 points behind Inter in second. What was the fuss about? They've only drawn 1 and lost 1. I don't know why people were freaking out earlier this season. This is a team who don't start seasons well traditionally, so it's kind of frightening to think what they could actually go on to achieve again this year if they can do as they have done in recent seasons and only build and improve as the season goes on. But anyway, Kev, back to Milan, the San Siro. All 4 sides of the San Siro can breathe easily now, because the crisis at Milan is over. They beat Genoa 2-1.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite say that the crisis is over.
But Kev, they beat Genoa 2-1.
Yeah, they beat Genoa 2-1. and they
win is a win.
They also nearly didn't do that. You know,
they did though.
Bar Pepe Reina. Yeah, I think they do need to just take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. There's still issues there. It was industrious, you know, until probably Rafael Leao came on and gave him a little bit more ingenuity up front, you know, and drive. But the fact that until Paqueta and Leao came on, they were looking at going down blind alleys again and struggling, probably indicates that Giampaolo still hasn't quite sort of got it right there.
Why do you have to be so negative? Poor Marco, he got his win. He went back to Liguria and he ran away with 3 points, and you best believe he probably ran with those points as soon as that final whistle went. But come on.
No, I can't because I really can't. I hate to be pessimistic, but it's like he Vito's been saying it for weeks about getting some of the new blood in, yet he went straight back to Bilia and Bonaventura.
There was something about this, because Bonaventura, I can kind of understand him starting. I don't know, just inject something of a feel-good attitude. Bonaventura works, and he's quite good as well. And he tends to score important goals for Milan when he plays. But who else was it? Piontek, and who else came off at halftime?
Çalhanoğlu?
Right, Çalhanoğlu.
Yeah,
I got the impression that he was kind of hamstrung into starting them, because it was almost as if halftime came and he said, all right, they're off now. Here come Leao and Paquetá. And they changed the game, the two of them. So it will be interesting to see his starting 11 next week. And if Leao and Paquetá play, okay, we'll see how they can impact the game together from the start. They've only got Lecce, not next week, sorry, after the international break. They've got Lecce, so you'd expect them to win that. But I don't know. I do agree. They were bad, and I mean, they were really, really bad. They just happened to not be the worst team on the pitch, and they scraped out the win. But yeah, I don't know. Milan fans, we'll speak to you in a month, see what the situation is. But speaking of Leao, Vito, he's quite a tricky customer. He showed it against Inter, and he showed it again.
He looks very mobile for someone of his height and build, but he's actually got quite excellent feet. So I really like the way he moves and controls the ball. Last week, he scored an excellent consolation goal in the 3-1 defeat to Fiorentina. And I think in this particular game, he really made a difference. I think Giampaolo, assuming that he still has a job after the international break, needs to utilise him a lot more, because he does add an extra dimension to the play. He adds a bit of extra unpredictability, and he looks like a player that's willing to prove himself. I mean, there are the usual suspects that sort of coast along, and we end up criticising them week in, week out. But being a new face at the club, Leao looks like a man who really wants to prove his worth at Milan and show the Rossoneri fans and hierarchy that he deserves to be at the club, and he wants to lift them higher up the table.
Kev, while me, Vito, and my friend Pete were out for a drink in Parma on Thursday night, we were discussing Pepe Reina, okay? And my friend Pete is a Liverpool fan, and he was speaking about how Reina can make these big saves that win you matches. And I said, yeah, like, he's good, but you can never trust him because he always has a mistake in him. And if ever there was one performance that perfectly summed up a man's entire career, it was this one. He disappeared. He turned into a ghost for Genoa's opener. Then he gave away the penalty, and then he saved the penalty. What a guy.
No, I don't think you can. As a fellow Liverpool fan, I won't let you get away with that. He was, I think, in his first 3 seasons in England, he kept the most clean sheets without sort of. He won an FA Cup in his first season. I think that's a little cruel. I think that's a little cruel on him. I think we've got to bear in mind. And actually, I met him on a flight back from Barcelona once in the anyway. But he's a very nice man. So I will not talk ill of him. I think you have to allow that he's come straight into the team. You know, as much as you're training every week, it's slightly different when you're then thrown in after playing a handful of games in the last couple of years. Although as I was watching the game, that mistake he made, which it was a mistake for the shown a free kick, he'd actually fumbled a couple of chances before that. You almost saw it coming. And yeah, I just can't talk ill of the man. Donnarumma clearly is on an upward trajectory and is always going to be number one there, but that is a decent backup to have that most Serie A sides would be happy to have. And actually, in the summer, when we were looking at someone to replace Mignolet coming back to Liverpool, it's a name that always gets sort of circulated in the media again to come back.
Yeah, well, he loves it, doesn't he? He loves not being a first choice goalkeeper. He won the World Cup with Spain as cheerleader. He moved to Bayern Munich to be backup, and then he was sick of playing every week at Napoli, so he went to Milan to be backup again. He loves it. But no, I don't doubt that he's a lovely guy. He seems like it. But come on, he makes too many mistakes to be playing for a big club, which I suppose is probably why he's at Milan. But don't say that too loudly, or we'll get in big trouble. Where are we going next? We'll come here to me in Emilia-Romagna, but go down the road about an hour on the train to Bologna. What a match. They drew 2-2 with Lazio. There were 4 goals, 3 goal scorers, 2 red cards, a penalty missed, a goal ruled out by VAR, and Sinisa Mihajlovic was back. He was given hospital clearance this morning to go to the game, and they also celebrated their 110-year anniversary. So just a couple of talking points from the Dallara today. But first things first, Kev, Bologna played in green. Are you okay?
Well, now I can ask the question, was that to do with the 110th anniversary? Did they originally start in green?
No, they didn't originally start in green, but they won their first Scudetto in 1925. And when they won it, guess what colour shirt they were wearing, Kev?
They were wearing green.
They were. And if you're watching on YouTube,
photo. You've got blur on your background.
Yeah, yeah, but is it not in the centre?
Well,
everyone in the press area was given a little book called La Maglia Verde, the green shirt. And it's a nice little book. There's a little story about how they wore green, and there's nice little animations. And yeah, I had a nice little read of that on my train back. It's good.
Yeah, I can't say I still allow it.
Why?
I don't know. I just think you should have more respect and in your home colours that you wear.
I'm sick of you, Kev.
No.
I think someone else did it this weekend, actually, but I can't remember.
Well, what also annoyed me was then why did Lazio play in their away kit?
Because I don't think blue and green are allowed.
Oh, come on.
I think that might be a thing. I know, because Lazio don't even really wear blue, right? They wear the sky blue.
Sky blue.
Yeah, I know. Football is a bit dumb though, but Lazio's away kit is beautiful. To be fair, Bologna. It was a great day. Sinisa Mihajlovic was back. He really doesn't look well. I know, obviously, he's not, and he's been through a lot. But it's striking when you see him kind of up close in person. It hits you a little bit more than just seeing him on TV, and seeing him walk down the touchline and even kind of wander around his technical area was kind of hard to look away from him at times. But it's a great game, and it seemed like his presence lifted everyone in the stadium, including the Bologna players. The Lazio fans even sang for him and gave him an ovation. Friend of Forza Italian football, Alessio De Giuseppe, was at a walk that was organised between both sets of fans in Bologna today. They kind of just walked around the city celebrating Mihajlovic. I'm not quite sure of the intricacies of why it happened or where it happened, but it was right for 9:30 this morning, so I didn't get down there for that, having been in Ferrari yesterday and being a little bit tired. But it was a good game. Good results. Will Lazio be happy with this? A 2-2 draw away at Bologna, considering they went down to 10 men and went behind twice, Vito?
No, I don't think so. I think the main sticking point would be Joaquin Correa's penalty miss. Just to smack that penalty against the crossbar. Considering the results that they have got in previous campaigns, not just in this one so far, these are the kind of results they still need to get. So any dropped points, I think it's, just one step less away from a potential Champions League spot. And it's results like these, although it's early in the season, they could really make an impact on whether they do actually make the Champions League or if they got to settle with a Europa League spot again.
Yeah, well, they are currently 6th behind both Roma and Napoli in the Europa League spots. Kev, are you okay? You pulled a face.
I pulled up. Well, firstly, I'll say I think Lazio can be fairly not happy, but not too disheartened by taking a point from Bologna. It's a difficult place to go. You've got the emotion around Mihajlovic, and they've been playing some nice football before their last couple of games. I pulled my face because unfortunately I had the joy of watching the early game and then the 5 p.m. game, and I only got to see the 2 o'clock games via highlights. And they did not show the Correa missed penalty on the highlights, so I had no idea it existed.
I'll tell you what's happened there, and it's the type of thing that match reporters fall victim of as well. They had those highlights compiled before the 90th minute because Correa's penalty was in the 88th, so they probably would have needed to go somewhere on the 90, so that's probably why they weren't included.
Oh,
but yeah, a fun fact on this: Rodrigo Palacio, right? He's into his 3rd season at Bologna, and guess how many home goals he scored for them, Kev?
That's probably his first, but I'm going to say 3. 1 a season. Okay. Let's say he gets 1 a season.
All right, Vito, how many home goals for Bologna has Rodrigo Palacio, the loved player, scored for them?
I think I saw 3 as well.
Today was his first home goal for Bologna in 3 seasons. And he's played 32 times at the Dallara as a Bologna player. And they love him. It's mad. When he signed, they basically kissed the ground he walked on because he's a World Cup finalist and all of that. Did he win the Champions League with it? No, that would have been before he went there. But anyway, the Bologna fans adore him. And he finally got his first goal, which I was quite happy to see. And he nearly made a mess of it. I'm sure you saw this in your highlights package. The ball came back from a rebound and it came to him. And he was very, very calm, almost overly so. And he took a touch and basically invited Strakosha to get back up and cover his goal again. And he prodded it and it managed to squirm its way in. But I was happy. Everyone was happy. And Palacio's up and running at the Dallara 3 years later. Congratulations, Rodrigo. Do we have anything else? Ciro Immobile scored twice. Is he Italy's best striker, Vito?
Look, he's the best striker in Serie A at the moment because he has scored 7 goals, but I've lost a lot of faith when it comes to the Azzurri squad. So, look, you might pick him based on form, but I don't think he's a guy that Roberto Mancini can depend on or focus his Euro 2020 campaign on.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It's weird. There's some players that have great club careers, but when it comes to the national team, they're a bit underwhelming. I mean, even the Sampdoria and Juventus legend, Gianluca Vialli, such a great club career, but his record with Italy, especially major tournaments, was rather underwhelming. So, Ciro Immobile is not the first one to be in these circumstances.
Yeah, I was going to make that same point, Vito. I think people get a little bit hung up on players, not necessarily just for the national team, but when they go elsewhere and fail. I think that's why some players do stay where they are when they just find that it clicks at a certain club. And obviously, he did also have this at Torino. And I think Lazio should be grateful for what they've got because, today he was clinical when as soon as he stepped inside that 18-yard box.
You hate goalkeepers, Kev. Skorupski was poor. He should have saved the first one.
Yeah, he was certainly poor for the first one. I don't hate goalkeepers, but yeah, when they make more mistakes than Pepe Reina, then.
What do you mean? You do hate goalkeepers? I didn't realize that was something you denied. I mean, that is so obvious that you hate goalkeepers.
I just hate mistakes. The goalkeeper makes more than outfield players, then. So be it.
I have a striker who should be in the Italy squad, guys. He didn't play in today's game, but I did see him this weekend. Any idea who it is? Mm-hmm. Big Andrea Patagna. Why is he not there? Because looking at the Italy squad, there's Grifo, Immobile, and Belotti. They're the only strikers in the team. How's Patagna not getting in there?
It's a bit bizarre. I mean... Yeah, maybe not so much based on this squad, but when I've seen in previous squads that Kevin Lasagna got picked and he's captain of Udinese, but he couldn't score to save his life. I mean, just defies logic. I mean, you just really wonder, what do coaches see in him? Whereas with Patagna, he does have the work ethic, but since joining SPAL, he's really added the goals to his game. And he scored the solitary goal against Parma on Saturday afternoon. So, you've got to pick guys that are in form. And he's 24 now, so it's not like he's a late bloom or anything. He's a player that, he can fit into the team now, and he can still be seen as a long-term prospect. So bringing him in, see what he's like, and also see how he can combine with all the other members of the squad.
The best thing about his goal against Parma was it was his only chance. Yeah, he had one chance and he scored it, and that's exactly what you need when you're playing at any level, players like Petagna. But the big talking point from this was that Leonardo Semplici celebrated his 200th game on the SPAL bench. Kevy's the longest serving coach in Serie A by a considerable distance, I think by about a year and a half. Giampiero Gasparini is second, about a month ahead of Simone Inzaghi in third. You've got to give Semplici credit for lasting that long in the job.
Oh, absolutely. And is that more or less games on the bench than Pepe Reina?
Throughout the whole career, probably, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, what he's done for that club. Because I think when you come up, maybe owners can have delusions of grandeur and where you should be then punching maybe above your weight and then make knee-jerk reactions and get rid of coaches. So I think as you give them a little bit of credit that, but also for him for maybe keeping expectations on the ground. Because that was only their second win of the season.
Yep.
And we've not really heard about them looking to offload him. So I think he's doing a good job just with what he's done with SPAL, and also just to keep everybody's feet on the ground.
They all love him there. The Curvo of Est held up a banner that thanked him and saluted his passion, ambition, loyalty, and something else. I can't remember what the word was. And then they said, "You've written the story of this city," which is a line that's actually quite big for one man who's involved with the football team to say, "You have written the story of this city in Italy." That's big. But they do love him. You can't imagine he's going to go anywhere. I did write about Leonardo Semplici and SPAL. His contract is until 2021. You can't imagine he's going to be given the boot anytime before then. And if anything, you could see him getting an extension. But this performance, what I wrote was that it perfectly epitomized what Semplici SPAL are at their very, very best. They fought, they were aggressive, they were organized, and they were clinical and threatening whenever they countered. So head over to the website and read that, because it's nice to write about the other clubs every once in a while, especially SPAL. I like them. But while we're speaking about this, I did do some maths on Andrea Petagna, and he scored 20 goals in 45 games for SPAL, which works out at 0.44 per game. Before he joined SPAL, Kev, he played 139 first-team games, and he only scored 19 goals, averaging 0.13 per game. SPAL suits him so well, and Semplici deserves credit for getting the best out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where you find a coach that gets a little bit more out of the sum of his parts. Maybe they're built to play towards Petagna, and this is also where you kind of, I know you're talking about the Italian national team, but sometimes when a club is sort of playing everything towards that one or two players, then you take them out of that environment and they don't get shown up necessarily at that higher level, but it doesn't work for them, and it's not beneficial for them. It's not beneficial for the country, and you've got to try and get that unit. But you can't really always pick the players on form for a national team, because the actual side has to work as a team, not as 11 of the best individuals on the pitch.
Do national sides ever work as a team unless they're just setting up to defend?
I think over, historically, if you look at the great teams of the last decade, maybe 15 years, look at the French side that had the 22 to 23 players that won the World Cup and then European Championships. Bar maybe 3 or 4 changes, that squad was together for 3 to 4 years. And the same with the Spain squad that won 2 European Championships and a World Cup.
The Spain thing's a little bit different though, because they all just played for Barcelona, right? So
yeah. So to the French side, where there were maybe at most three players at one club, you'd think Henry, Petit, and Vieira at Arsenal. A couple at Monaco, whatever. But I think keeping that nucleus of the same side, particularly if they're all in the same age bracket as well, and they go through sort of the journey together, can be really, really useful. Probably not the right word, but prosperous maybe, if you're looking to develop something long term and win a major championship.
Yeah, anyway, less international chat. I just realised we're getting a break next week, which makes me very, very happy. I love you guys, but sometimes they need it. Roma, Cagliari, 1 each. Was it a penalty for Cagliari, Vito?
Yeah, I think it was just not just the way the ball hit the arm, but just how the arm was far from the body. So, especially under the current ruling or the new ruling for the handball, I think you usually see those given. So, yeah, I think you'd have to give that as a penalty. I don't think there's too much of an argument on that.
Kev, 2 points dropped for Roma, or Cagliari going to be the type of team who do this?
I think Cagliari can be the type of team that do this, but Roma being at home, I think you have to say that it was 2 points lost. There wasn't a lot within the highlights that I saw that suggested that Cagliari were matching Roma.
No, I thought you were going to continue that sentence and you stopped really early, so it really threw me off guard, and now I don't know what to say, so we're just going to move on to the next game. But Cagliari are 7th, which is quite nice. Can they challenge for Europe?
And dare I say we should praise Robin Olsen, because he actually made some good saves.
Is this 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah, I saw someone tweet actually about the amount of narratives that there were potentially around this game. There was Nangolan going back to Roma. You had Olsen obviously also going back to Roma. None really sort of played out from the game, but yeah, Olsen was probably the only one that got close to that because he made a couple of crucial saves at the end.
Well, just below Cagliari, Fiorentina. They beat Udinese 1-0, but Vito, they did need a very, very late, well, not very late, but a quite late set piece. And a header from Milenkovic to win it for them.
Yes, they did. They had a few chances. Even Udinese themselves had a few, but I think with the quality Fiorentina has at the moment and the good run that they've generated, I think that they deserve to win anyway, and they might not be raking in the goals every week, but at the moment, I think they're just happy to be getting the 3 points, especially after the horrible start Vincenzo Montella had on his return as Fiorentina coach.
Yeah, it's true. You say they're not scoring goals, Kev. They haven't got a striker. They need a striker.
Yeah, they are short of something to sort of aim at. And then we just discussed Cagliari, who have got Giovanni Simeone there. And Fiorentina let him leave. I know he was struggling certainly the back end of last season at Fiorentina, but I'm assuming Kevin Prince Boateng is injured. I watched this game. I don't remember seeing him on the pitch. But that's someone you think that could at least spearhead the attack. I think the problem with this game, when I sort of watched it, is it was tiring, and sort of we had Udinese beating Bologna last week, and then they drew with Verona the week before, and as it got to about the 60-minute mark, I thought to myself, are Udinese dragging the opposition down to their level and then managing to sort of scrape points or scrape victories? Because I don't know what it's about. They just seem to drain the life out of most football matches.
Well, that's what Udinese have been doing in Serie A for the last, maybe 4 seasons. But no, Prince was on the bench. He didn't come on. So that's why you don't remember him seeing on the pitch, because he was never on the pitch. But I don't want to talk about this game anymore. Torino-Napoli, 0-0. Vieri Capretta was there, and he doesn't even want to talk about it. So we're not going to talk about it. But Napoli are stumbling a little bit more than they probably should be. Kev?
I saw someone say they'd made a lot of changes, but I don't think I don't think it changes the fact that even similar to Genk in midweek, that they were just struggling to be inventive or create many chances in attack.
Why is that? Because that's the one thing they have, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. They've got all that attacking talent. I did question when they had Milik and Llorente up front together for one of the games. I think that was actually the weekend before the Champions League ties, but it actually seemed to work that week. I think it was when they smashed Lecce or someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd think, if anything, that's what they're going to do. They would almost be an Atalanta. You'd be less worried about them going forward and more worried about them conceding, if anything.
Well, they did make a couple of changes, but in their starting 11, they still had Insigne, Mertens, Zielinski, Alan, and Fabian Ruiz. So you'd expect that would be able to carve out chances against a Torino who aren't their usual selves this season. I mean, I saw them at Parma and they were pretty poor. They don't look all that defensively solid, but Vieri said they were today. But next thing, Verona 2. Vito, what happened to Sampdoria in Verona? Because this is the type of game. Kev, stop smiling. Is Vito gone?
No, Vito, that's what I'm smiling about. Vito disappeared about 2 seconds ago.
Vito has
that's
dropped
how little he wants to talk about it.
He saw what was coming and he left. Wow, he's kind of hung us out to dry there, but Sampdoria did lose away to Verona, so Kev, Vito's abandoned us. We can laugh at it, but Sampdoria are in serious trouble.
The only highlight they showed from the first half was the goal, which is an awful piece of defending from Sampdoria, because they just let him sort of not even take a run into the box to meet the header. He almost jumped from a standing position and headed past Ordero. And then the second goal for Hellas Verona was equally poorly defended, and they just look like they've run out of ideas. Whether Di Francesco isn't getting his thoughts across. I can't see him. Well, actually, I think. What was that? That was just me again for a minute. I thought you disappeared.
No, it happened on my end too. I don't know what that was. Quickly, let's get this done. Before...
I would not be surprised if Di Francesco walks away before the international break is complete.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about that at all either, because he's not really got much going for him at all this year. What do we need to talk about before we finish? I can't.
Sassuolo Brescia postponement.
Sassuolo Brescia was postponed, and there were silences held all over Serie A this weekend because of Sassuolo president Giorgio Squincy passed away in the week. He wasn't a young man. He was 76 years old when he passed, but he deserves enormous credit for what Sassuolo became under him, because they're now a very established Serie A side. And hats off to him, and condolences to everyone at Sassuolo and everyone around the Squincy family and anyone who knew him. Any more to say about that, Kev?
I think you touched on it. I think the fact that since he purchased the club in 2002, they've become a staple of our Serie A diet. And the fact that I can't remember the last time we spoke about them as a relegation candidate when we've been doing our previews. I think that's how well he's done at making them that cemented in the top flight.
Yeah, they kind of took to it like a duck to water, and goes back to Di Francesco and the team that he had there. We spoke about it off air. Nicola Sansone, Domenico Berardi, Simone Zaza. Now they got players like Alfred Duncan, who could probably play for Atalanta or a Champions League team, to be honest with you. They sign very, very well, and they give players chances, similarly to the club that you all know I'm going to say, so I won't say them.
Yeah, I also think that the coaching decisions that they make as well. I mean, because we've seen how easily someone like Samp, who we were just discussing, suddenly the coaching change throws a club into all sorts of chaos, and they just seem to have everything right from an
organizational perspective.
Yes.
They can look forward and see what they need to do and how they can continue what's already been happening and what's been going well. Yeah, absolutely. So, condolences to everyone associated with Sassuolo. Let's stop this here, Kev, shall we, before it cuts out on us. Vito's been lost to Skype. You and I have managed to battle on. So thank you very much for joining me this week.
Pleasure.
And you're welcome for allowing you to join me this week, Kev. Anyway, head over to ForzaItalianFootball.com, everybody. Read all of the stuff we've had published. There's going to be stuff going up again tomorrow and throughout the international break as well, which I'm very, very happy is here. You won't be hearing from us next week, so if you do want to know our thoughts, you can get us on our social media channels or just go to the website and read what we write, because we always write. Kev, are you going to write something this week?
Yes, you need to give me a feature. I'm looking at my notes from the weekend now and trying to work out what it could be.
Okay. Right. Let us discuss this off air. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll speak to you in 2 weeks. Enjoy your week off. We love you. Goodbye.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.